In a small, cold corner of a bustling city, a man curled on a sidewalk, ignored like trash. People walked past him every day, but one man didn't. He laughed. A uniformed officer. Seconds later, that laugh turned to silence. And when the officer saw who he was looking at, everything stopped. It was 7:12 a.m. on a fog-drenched Wednesday in Boston. Officer Ryan Calloway had been on the force for 13 years, long enough to be jaded, short enough to still carry a badge of arrogance. He was sipping lukewarm gas station coffee when his patrol car pulled up near Tremont and Winter Street, a popular crossing for commuters and tourists. That's when he saw him, a homeless man, hunched in rags, leaning against a brick wall, unmoving. Layers of dirt covered his face like a mask, and a tangled beard spilled over his shirt. He clutched a duffel bag like it was his last possession on earth. The smell hit first, then came the pity, and finally, the condescension. Calloway chuckled. "Jesus, man," he muttered. "Smells like the alley gave birth to something." He rolled down the window and shouted, "You good there, Santa? You lose your sleigh." No answer. Calloway shook his head, parked, and got out. He approached the man, intending to move him along with a few words and a veiled threat about loitering. But as he stepped closer, the man shifted slightly, just enough for Calloway to see his face beneath the grime. And that's when everything changed. Calloway froze. The man's right eye twitched, a tic that Calloway had seen before. A scar ran from the man's left cheek to his jawline. Unmistakable. His hands, though filthy, had the same crooked index finger Calloway remembered from years ago. "Wait," Calloway said, blinking. No way. That can't be." His breath caught, because this wasn't just a homeless man. This was Detective Marcus Doyle. Missing. Presumed dead. 7 years ago. Doyle had been Calloway's training officer back in 2011. Charismatic. Brilliant. Paranoid. He saw corruption where others saw politics. He investigated things no one wanted investigated, like the overtime scandal involving top brass, or the secret ghost unit that made evidence disappear. In 2016, Doyle vanished without a trace. His car was found near the edge of a bridge, his badge and gun inside. The department ruled it a suicide. Case closed. Calloway went on with his life. Most did, but not everyone believed the story. Back in the present, Calloway crouched slowly. "Marcus," he whispered. "Doyle." The man didn't move, not for several seconds. Then, barely audibly, he said, "You weren't supposed to see me." His voice was gravel, dry, worn, but familiar. Calloway swallowed hard. "Jesus Christ, Marcus, where have you been?" The man's eyes flicked to him, and there was something else now. Fear. Desperation. "Are you still one of them?" Doyle asked. "One of who?" But Doyle didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed his duffel, stood, unsteady, and staggered away into the morning crowd. That moment haunted Calloway. He filed no report, told no one. Instead, he started digging, pulled Doyle's old files, looked into his last investigations. Late nights turned into sleepless weeks. Doyle had been looking into something massive, something about the Aegis Club, a private organization of elites rumored to control parts of the city government from the shadows. But there was never proof. Until now, the deeper Calloway dug, the stranger things became. Case files were missing. Phone numbers disconnected. Officers who once worked with Doyle had either retired early, transferred, or died unexpectedly. Then came the package. No return address. No note, just a flash drive. Inside, a single audio file. "If you're hearing this, I'm either dead or close enough. They found me. They always do. The club has eyes everywhere, even inside the department, especially inside." It was Doyle's voice. "Don't trust anyone in uniform, not even the ones you think you know. There's a ledger, hidden. Lockbox 8G17. They'll kill to protect it." Calloway's hands trembled. Because the recording was dated 2 days ago, he traced the lockbox to an abandoned warehouse near Dorchester. It had once been part of an old naval shipping line, now long defunct. The entrance was boarded, the area fenced, but the lock had been cut. Someone else had been there, or still was. Calloway entered. Dust filled the air like ghosts. There, in the corner, behind a stack of rusted crates, was the box. He opened it. Inside, a leather journal and a photograph. In the photo, 5 men, dressed in suits, standing in front of a marble staircase. Calloway recognized 2 of them. One was the former police chief. The other was his own captain. Calloway was losing control. He started watching his own precinct like an outsider. Noticed strange meetings, missing logs, conversations that ended when he walked into rooms. He knew the walls had ears, but now the walls might have guns too. He tried to find Doyle again, checked shelters, soup kitchens, transit terminals. For 5 days, nothing. Then, on the 6th day, he got a call from a burner phone. Doyle's voice, shaking. "You're in danger. They saw you at the warehouse. Don't go home. They're watching your wife." Calloway's blood turned ice. "I didn't tell anyone. Doesn't matter. They knew the moment you touched the box." Click. Calloway drove home like a madman. But his wife, Elise, wasn't there. The house had been ransacked. No forced entry, just silence. On the kitchen table, her wedding ring, a photo of them torn in half, and a single playing card, the ace of spades, marked in red. He collapsed. Everything he thought was real, his job, his department, his safety, it was all crumbling. He dialed Doyle's burner. No answer. He tried again. Nothing. 2 days passed. No sign of Elise. No updates from Doyle. Then, on a rainy Friday evening, Calloway came home to find his front door slightly ajar. Inside, a VHS tape resting on the floor. He hadn't owned a VHS player in years, but the department archive room did. He drove straight there, plugged it in. The footage was grainy, silent, security style. It showed a dimly lit room with Elise tied to a chair, and then, stepping into frame, the captain. What would you do if everything you trusted was built on lies? If the man you laughed at turned out to be the only one who could save your life? And if the people you worked for were the ones planning your death? Inside the precinct archive room, Calloway stood frozen in front of the VHS screen. His fingers clenched the desk, white-knuckled. On the screen, Elise, his wife, trembled in a dim, concrete room. No sound, but her pain was clear. Duct tape across her mouth, tears streaming. Then came the captain, Captain Monroe, calm, smiling, like it was nothing. Calloway whispered under his breath, "You son of A.B. ****H. But the footage didn't stop. Someone else stepped into frame. A man in a suit, expensive, untouchable. Councilman Reese Langford, a name that had popped up in Doyle's journal over and over. A man who donated heavily to the Aegis Club. A man who'd never once gotten a parking ticket because he owned half the city's silence. Now he stood beside Elise. He leaned in, whispered something to her. She nodded, slowly. Wait, she nodded. Calloway stumbled back, confused. She wasn't just scared. She was involved. Could she have known? That night, he returned home to a ransacked living room and a clue. Under a floorboard near their fireplace, he found a small black notebook. Inside, a single line written in Elise's handwriting. "They have Marcus. I had no choice." His chest ached. His stomach turned. How long had she known Doyle was alive? Had she been helping him or helping them? At 2:17 a.m., Calloway sat in his garage, gun on the table, Doyle's journal in front of him. Then came the knock. He opened the door slowly, and there he was, Doyle, barely standing, clothes soaked from the rain, eyes haunted. "They know you saw the footage," Doyle rasped. "They know everything now." Inside, Doyle spoke fast, desperate. 7 years ago, he had uncovered a network inside the department. A brotherhood of officers who destroyed evidence, ran guns, and orchestrated arrests to favor political allies. It was bigger than overtime fraud. It was racketeering, murder, and human trafficking. And Langford was the architect. "I tried to expose it," Doyle said. But Monroe got to me first. Made it look like I killed myself. I barely escaped. He had lived in tunnels, shelters, a ghost in his own city, until Elise found him. She brought me food, batteries, notes. She helped me gather what I needed. She saved me, Ryan. Calloway broke. Tears burned his eyes. They have her now. Doyle nodded. Then we get her back, and we end this. Together, they built a trap. Calloway resigned from the force, citing burnout. He went quiet, off the grid, and then, using information from the ledger and Doyle's journal, they leaked pieces to a reporter who owed Doyle his life, Tommy Esparza. They fed him just enough. Video footage from the VHS. Names, bank transactions, surveillance shots. The article hit 2 weeks later. Inside the Brotherhood, Boston's deepest corruption uncovered. It exploded, but it wasn't enough. Langford denied it all. Monroe claimed it was a hoax. They needed something undeniable. Doyle knew where Elise was, an old Aegis safe house in Roslindale. At midnight, they went in. No backup, just courage, broken trust, and a need for justice. Inside, the smell of mildew and rot. They crept past crates of falsified IDs, burner phones, a wall covered in photos, victims, officers, judges, journalists, and then, behind a metal door, Elise. She gasped when she saw them. "You came." Calloway ran to her, cutting her free. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. "I tried to warn you," she said. "They found out. They knew I was helping him. They were going to make it look like I disappeared." Then a voice. "Shame." Captain Monroe stood in the doorway, gun drawn. Everything exploded. Doyle dove for cover. Calloway shielded Elise. Monroe opened fire. Bullets splintered concrete. Doyle took a round to the shoulder, but managed to return fire. Calloway shouted, "You betrayed everything we stood for." Monroe laughed bitterly. "You still think it was ever about justice? Wake up. It's always been about control." Doyle aimed and pulled the trigger. Monroe dropped. Just like that. The next morning, Calloway and Doyle turned over everything. Photos, videos, statements from Elise. Langford was arrested live on television. He smiled the entire time. "Do you really think this ends with me?" he said. But it was over. A federal investigation swept through the city like wildfire. 23 officers indicted. 4 councilmen, 3 judges, 2 state senators. Doyle's name was cleared, his badge reinstated, though he'd never wear it again. Calloway retired. And Elise? She started a nonprofit helping women trapped in abusive systems. They tried to bury him. They laughed at him, left him for dead. But Detective Marcus Doyle lived. And when justice finally rose from the sewers of a broken city, it carried his name. As for Calloway, he learned the cruelest truth of all. Sometimes the system you swear to protect was built to destroy you. Thank you for watching an episode of Social Injustice. If the story moved you, please subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Every voice helps keep these stories alive, and maybe, just maybe, brings justice to those still waiting.